Hello and welcome to the podcast that has been called up for the international team and has been picked to take a crucial penalty in a shootout. Does it Panenka it? No. Does it side-foot it into the inside of the post? No. Does it absolutely blast it into Rosette? You betcha. It's the big man up top.
Wow. That was so dramatic.
I know, yeah. She had some big... It was already music. There'll already be music over this.
Music over it.
Yeah,
Could do some dramatic drums or something.
Dun, 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 dun.
Wow. I'm impressed.
Let's just imagine, Joe, you've been picked for England and you're taking part in a penalty shootout. Where are you putting your penalty?
Well, you've got to decide early doors, haven't you?
Yeah,
Don't change your mind. I am probably hitting it and hoping for the best.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm taking a leaf straight out of the book of Julian Dix. It's good. You've just got to absolutely bury it. You've just got to hit it as hard as you possibly can and hope it stays low. That's my tactic. Tom, where would you put a penalty?
Frankly, if it goes in the goal, it's a success. I mean, left.
Left. Good.
Put it
Left, but I'd look right. I'd go, what's that? And then I'd take it.
A bit of an Ivan Toney.
Can you do that?
You can do what you want.
Do what you want.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you carry like a sort of smoke bomb with you? And
No.
No? All right.
No, none of that nonsense. Joe, how are you?
Yes, good, Ed. Are you doing well?
Oh, mate, I'm in pain, Joe.
Yeah. Is this kind of a disclaimer for the rest of this episode?
Well, I'm currently experiencing dental pain.
Oh,
I've got
bless
an
you.
emergency appointment on Tuesday this week. I am on some very strong painkillers, Joe, to get me through the day. And so,
we're recording a lot earlier than normal.
Yeah, because we don't know what's going to happen. So
by the time this podcast comes out, dear listener, Ed's teeth will be sorted out.
Hopefully. How was your weekend?
Really dull.
Okay.
Wonderfully dull.
Okay.
I was
international break, so it's time for IKEA trips and that sort of thing.
All that kind of thing, putting curtain rails up and that. Yeah. I want to hear about Tom's weekend.
Well, my weekend was fantastic.
Yeah,
it
tell
was
us about
incredible.
What happened, Tom?
I went to the Alex.
Oh, here he goes.
With the rest of the railroad men and women.
Is that railroad?
It is now.
Wait, what?
The railway. The railway men. Yes.
Railway.
As I said, the railway men and women. We went to watch a game against Old Ham.
Old Ham.
And it was an incredible success.
Quite a local
for
derby,
Alex.
really, in the grand scheme of
Is
things.
it?
Yeah.
Down there, yeah. Teams are all over
North
the place.
Manchester. That's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
It was a 2-1 win to Crewe. Old Ham had been on a 10... What am I saying Old Ham wrong?
Just keep going. It's great.
Old Ham had a 10-game win streak when they came to Crewe, and I'll be honest, it wasn't looking good for the majority of the match. It was a 1-1 draw at half-time, and then Crewe got a final goal in the 91st minute.
Oh, massive.
And it was just spectacular. I mean, I thought Old Ham's entire team fan base showed up. Everybody did. The whole away end was packed.
Yeah, the ice cream van stand.
Yeah. It was crammed. There were people basically spilling over the edge, and they were loud. They were up there to support their team, and then at the end they were just silent. And that silence was delicious.
Absolute limbs.
Limbs. What do you describe it as limbs?
I describe it as all limbs: arms, legs, feet.
Yeah, famously they're the only ones.
Those are the only ones.
Yeah.
Tails. All of them. What does limbs mean?
Oh, we've been through this, because the thing is, Joe, we'll come on to Wales in a bit, but Tom and I found ourselves watching Wales, like at the same time this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom had started texting into our group chat. And so Tom and I, we sort of watched it together,
That's
chatting
lovely.
back and
I
forth.
missed all of this. I do have the group on mute.
Yeah, fine.
No offence.
Fine. And we were discussing the definition of a screamer, which we'll come on to. But I said, well, this is definitely limbs, referring to Dan James's goal.
Yeah.
And Tom was like, what does limbs mean? So what would you say limbs is, Joe?
Limbs is just when something incredible happens, particularly in football or sport, and you just don't really know what to do, so you just throw yourself around.
Oh,
right. Okay.
It's more probably seen in away ends more than home ends.
Yes,
in
I think
football.
so. I think
You'd say
so, yeah.
I think it's quite rare you get home limbs. I would say.
I mean, for a last-minute Crew winner.
Sure. I'd imagine it came close to limbs, particularly the Gresty Road end. I bet that was absolute limbs.
Absolutely, they were mad. Yeah. Shirts off, all that.
Yeah.
Crazy behaviour. Well, what are we going to talk about today, Joe?
Well, we are going to try and find some things from the international break to talk about. It was not the best weekend for the home nations.
No,
really,
sadly.
Which was really sad. We're also going to talk about the latest Premier League managerial departure as well.
Yes, we certainly will. But should we start with some Bible ballers?
Let's do that.
This is our quiz segment on the Big Man Up Top, and it's all related to a player who shares their name with the name of a book in the Bible. So I'm quizzing you this week, Joe. How are you feeling?
Yeah, fine actually.
I think you'll get this one today.
I've had a whole weekend to practice, to revise.
To revise. Good. Okay, here we go. Your question this week. We're going to be talking about Spurs managers today, aren't we? What I want to know, Joe, is which former Spurs manager joined as assistant to Harry Redknapp in 2008, taking over the top job in 2013 following the dismissal of Andre Villas-Boas. He's got a confident nod. He thinks he knows.
I'm fairly confident on this.
Assistant? Which assistant?
He was the manager at some point.
Oh, okay.
But he originally came in as the assistant manager in 2008 to Harry Redknapp. So you think you've got some?
I think I know this.
Yeah.
And I think it's a manager that managed to get a tune out of Emmanuel Adebayor.
Interesting.
Hotspur.
Interesting. We'll save it for later though, shall we?
Let's do that, yeah.
Let's create some kind of jeopardy.
Got to, yeah.
So before we delve into the international break, I think let's talk about the sort of breaking news from the start of this week, which was that yesterday Spurs manager Igor Tudor left the club by mutual consent, is the phrase. Now, we have to start by saying that Igor Tudor has gone through some personal circumstances at the moment, a bereavement and his family. So that is sort of coming into play as well. And obviously, like, first and foremost, like, our thoughts go out to Igor Tudor as he, he's dealing with this thing that is much bigger than football, isn't he? Yeah,
100%. He has lost his father within the last couple of weeks, and yeah, that's more important than all of this. I think this is just the best decision for everyone. I think this is a true mutual agreement that actually, I think first and foremost, you're not in a place to give your all. We don't want you to have to come back, I guess. I'd imagine he's gone back to Croatia to be with his family, and almost it's not important for you to come back to Tottenham into what is quite a toxic environment. That's not best for anyone.
Well, that's it. And we have to be honest as well. Like, aside from this personal circumstance, it isn't going well for Igor Tudor at Spurs. And you're right, it is toxic. And so I think the best situation all round is that he's just, essentially allowed to be removed from the situation so that he can go and grieve and be with his family and all of that.
Yeah, because let's be honest, before this personal situation occurred, there was talk of this happening. The results haven't gone well. He got 1 point in his first however many games, 7 games I think, and it just wasn't going well.
Spurs still without a win in 2026, and we are very close to April as we record this. Is it April by the time this comes out on Tuesday? I don't know. No, it'll be Wednesday the 1st, but it will be basically April and still no win this calendar year, which is insane, isn't it?
That is mad. They need something to change, and they need good vibes. They might get a local favourite in to take the reins. There's talk of De Zerbi coming in immediately. It sounds like he is interested. It might be by the time this comes out that he is confirmed as Tottenham manager, because these things move very quickly. They need something to rejuvenate this squad for the last 7 games.
I don't tend to like to comment on rumour, but I did see something about Sean Dyche being involved as well, which, can I just say, that's the choice the football world wants.
Are we
isn't
not
it?
a bit past this now?
No, I don't think we are.
I think we might be.
But the rumour I'd seen was that Sean Dyche was not interested in taking the job temporarily and wanted a longer term contract. Obviously, we don't really know what the situation is, but you can sort of understand why a manager might go, all right, you want me to get you out of this situation, but you're not going to give me the job long term, are you? So come on, like you must sort of feel like you're sort of dragged in to do a job. You know, it doesn't feel very nice.
Unless you go full Sam Allardyce at Leeds and say, I'll do 4 games, charge a ridiculous amount of money per game, and then go and do an Uber Eats advert.
Yeah, look, it's the dream, isn't it, Joe? It's what we're building up to. But yeah, so you think you could see a situation where De Zerbi comes in and does quite well?
I think he could definitely do well there. I'd be quite interested with someone like Robbie Keane, he's currently managing at Ferencváros, I believe a Hungarian team, doing quite well. Again, fan favourite. I think he'd rejuvenate the fans, the players, but he's not that proven a coach, would be the thing. So be coming in to do a Michael Carrick and bring good vibes. But I think that's what's needed.
I just think there's so much danger, though, in bringing in a fan favourite, isn't there? Because Robbie Keane is at this point, this sort of mythical person. I think sort of Harry Redknapp falls into this category at Spurs as well, is that people go, oh, get him in. Yeah. And he could do worse than X. Yeah. And actually, it's like 90% of the time that just doesn't work out. You know, you think of Ole Solskjaer at Man United and all
Lampard
of the others.
at Chelsea.
Yeah, it's just not going to work out. And in the end, these players who've got such a standing at their old clubs end up coming in and ruining it.
Well, I think that's this as well with Liverpool. There was a lot of talk of, is Slot safe? Is he going? And so many fans are saying, get Gerrard in for the rest of the season. And again, it's so dangerous. Yeah. Like,
why would you do that? If you're Steven Gerrard, why would you
don't do it to yourself.
Don't do that to yourself. Absolutely. Well, we shall keep an eye on the Tottenham Hotspur situation, and we shall keep you abreast as things develop.
I'm sure you get your breaking news from us.
Who did you say was the manager, the first one you thought was going in?
Roberto De Zerbi.
But does he deserve it? Hold for applause.
Keep that in.
Ed, we're going to start by talking about England. Now, let's acknowledge this isn't the story of the weekend at all.
I think it's definitely not. We didn't really want to start with England, playing in an absolute non-game against Uruguay. A very much a non-game as it turned out as well, wasn't it, really?
I was watching Claudia Winkleman's chat show instead. and then I switched over.
What was more interesting?
Claudia Winkleman's chat show. She's got some very good guests.
But there was a talking point in this game, wasn't there? And it was all seemed to be around the Arsenal defender Ben White.
Yes, this is why we want to lead with this, because I think there's a kind of faith angle here. We are a faith podcast,
of course.
Yeah. Ben White, his first recall to the England squad since the 2022 World Cup. Now, we have to say here that all of this is alleged.
Yes.
But there was rumours that there was a falling out at the 2022 World Cup involving Ben White and Steve Holland, who at the time was the England assistant manager. He left the camp early during the World Cup. There was a lot of talk around, he doesn't want to play for England, that kind of thing. There's a lot of things around Ben White that he doesn't actually like playing football. Have you heard this?
Yeah, and again, I feel like none of this is actually substantiated anywhere in terms of anything anybody's actually said. It's just, I've heard this, you know, and that is the danger with stuff like this, that we can just sort of lean into, you know, in the absence of information, you know, in that vacuum, stuff just gets inserted in. He doesn't like football. You've got to assume he does.
You've got to. You know? Or he's just so good at it that it doesn't matter.
Can you imagine being that good at football and actually, what I really want to do? Pottery. You know.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
Crocheting.
You should come to Stoke.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes you think. There's probably stuff that we're really good at that we don't know because we're not interested.
Yeah.
Like, what if
whitewater rafting?
I reckon. I'm fantastic at ballet.
Yeah. What if? What if you could be a ballet dancer with the national ballet?
I could be
something.
What if I'm phenomenal at the tuba? Anyway, that's by the by. What's happened here is right. Ben White left the World Cup in 2022.
He tried to do a Roy Keane. 2002, didn't he? And it not quite as dramatic.
Not quite that dramatic, but there was a fallout allegedly. He then made himself unavailable for selection under Gareth Southgate for the remainder of his tenure as England manager. Tuchel obviously has come in. He is the new manager of England, and he was a late call-up to Tuchel's squad, Ben White, and he came on during this game, his first appearance since then, and scored a goal, and also gave away a penalty in this game. But for when he came on, scored the goal, and gave away the penalty, he was booed by England's fans, clearly through the lens of, you didn't want to play for England, now you've come back. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, look, I'm not sure I agree with sort of some of the stronger end of the conversation. Certainly would say that we've spoken a lot on this podcast about abusing players, and I don't agree with any of that. I do believe fans have the right to voice their opinion, and booing is a fairly sort of non-toxic way to do that. It's just expressing dissatisfaction or disappointment,
because everything's booed these days.
Yeah, exactly. I think there is an element of just booing everything. It's not what does that even mean? What I would say is that I am definitely in the camp of thinking that being picked for England is, if you're a footballer, has got to be the highest honour. It's got to be the most important thing, and something does jar with me when I see players sort of disrespect that in any way, whether that be refuse to play for England or leaving a camp early or whatever it might be. Just because I think it's that thing of you remember when you're a kid and you're playing football in the playground, and for me, I was pretending I was Alan Shearer. Well, it was quite short, so maybe Michael Owen, maybe slightly less quick Michael Owen. And it's just in your mind, this is the highest honour. To see a player sort of throw that away willingly feels quite jarring to me. So I understand the fans' frustration, is what I'd say.
Yeah, I think there's a danger there though of kind of projecting your own thoughts onto Ben White here. I think what's interesting after this, Jordan Henderson came out and basically said fans have no idea what's going on. We have no idea what that fallout was about.
Absolutely right.
Again, there's rumours that Ben White was going through a particularly difficult personal time. I mean, we don't need the details. We don't need to know the details. Mm-hmm. I think for me, it's that thing of supporting your players no matter what. And we're going into a World Cup. This was a pointless friendly against Uruguay. It's a World Cup is on the way. If Ben White scores the opener against Uruguay in a quarter-final of the World Cup, is he booed?
Absolutely not.
I don't think he is.
No. And I think that there's an element of maybe bringing him in at this point because he's obviously in Tuchel's plans, and I think that, or at least his thoughts, and he's thinking, right, well, I don't want to bring him in for the first time during an important group game or whatever that might be. So let's get him in now and get this out of the way. And I think fans will forget about it, because the point is that every minute he's actually playing in an England shirt, he's sort of reinforcing that message that he does want to play for England, and that is okay, and that's good. I just think that it's much more of a sort of philosophical point of can you imagine any of us turning down the opportunity to play for England? Just think if I got selected, Joe, me in my current state.
Give me a minute.
right. For some reason, Thomas Tuchel's developed a strategy, and he really needs.
Sorry for laughing.
He really needs somebody who's overweight and 5'7". But the point is that the expectation on me, despite all the embarrassment I would cause myself, is that I just go, of course, I will run my legs into the ground. That's not the phrase. I will run into the ground. I will do whatever is required because it's seen as, in my opinion, like a lesser version of like being called up to fight in a war. Thankfully at the moment, we don't have conscription in this country, and we're not immediately going to be called up to fight in a war. Again, I'd be terrible at that too. But there's that element of, we all feel like we want to say, well, if I'm called upon, I would do my country proud and all of that sort of stuff. And so I do find that a player that would throw that away quite jarring.
It's also interesting what Thomas Tuchel said after this game as well, talking about this situation. He says, everyone deserves a second chance. Hello, Christian Football Podcast.
Exactly. Yeah.
Second chance. Well, that's what the gospel preaches, isn't it?
Yeah.
Second chances. Right. Tuchel actually said here that he wants White to win over supporters by performances on the pitch. As Christians, we believe that you shouldn't have to do that.
No.
It's forgiveness. It's grace. You don't have to prove yourself. You're welcome back. So I just think it's something interesting to ponder on.
I think you're absolutely right, and hopefully the fans can give him the time of day. And actually, I think there is, like I said, this element of just stepping back onto the pitch, just putting that shirt on again, is a sign of no, I am here.
Yeah.
I am giving of myself, and this is important to me. So hopefully the fans can get back on side with Ben White. But there is also a point to say about Arsenal players, isn't there, Joe? Because there's been a bit of a, how do we say, just a bit of a pandemic in amongst the Arsenal squad. in that quite a few of them have found themselves being mysteriously injured over the last sort of few days, haven't they?
It's an absolute disaster for Arsenal, isn't it? All these players feeling things in their hamstrings suddenly.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you like a list?
I would love a list, please.
Martin Zubamendi, Piero Hincapié, Declan Rice, Leandro Trossard, Bukayo Saka, Noni Madueke. Now, I do believe he's injured.
Okay.
Eberechi Eze is injured. William Saliba, Gabriel, Martin Odegaard, Jorian Timber. Now, some of them are injured. But I have to be a bit suspicious.
That's basically their first 11, isn't it? All sort of conveniently finding themselves needing to withdraw from their international squads and go home. And this does play into that point that I was saying before of like, look, you might argue, Joe, that these are pointless, meaningless friendlies. And who wants to get injured at this point of the season? Yeah, okay, I get that. But again, this is the highest honour a footballer can be bestowed upon a footballer. Is here you go, play for your country, go and represent your nation, go and inspire the dreams of little kids everywhere by playing in a game against Uruguay. It doesn't mean anything.
It's really hard to believe, given the opportunity to play at Wembley on a Friday night as well, that you turn that down. Like, again, a lot of this has to be said allegedly, because there is a slight chance that all 12 of these players have pulled their hamstring.
Yeah, all at the same time.
But
the big question is how many of these players are going to play next week in the Premier League?
I think that's the thing. Is there an integrity question here, an honesty thing? I find it hard to believe that players don't want to turn out for their country at every opportunity possible.
Is there also something to be said for the situation that players are in specifically for their clubs? So, for example, I watched the Wales game and I was delighted to see Stoke left winger Sorba Thomas come off the bench and play really well, didn't he, Tom?
Yeah, he was making loads of chances.
Yeah.
I was really impressed.
Yeah, really, as Wales were pushing forward, Thomas was sort of really one of the key players. And that's great. He's had a great season for Stoke. He's been one of the few really positive things. But actually, Stoke are not in a playoff battle. We are not pushing for promotion right now. We are pushing for a solid mid-table. And so I was delighted to see him come on and play well. Would I have been that delighted, Joe, if Stoke were, actually having a crucial end to the season where we needed him to stay fit? I've got to be honest, I'm not sure.
Well, I think it's contextual, isn't it? Because cast your mind back to the African Cup of Nations when your right back was playing.
Yeah.
Did you have similar thoughts there if you want to see him do well? Or when Stoke were actually looking like they could do a playoff push, don't get injured.
I was livid with Junior Chamadou playing for his national team. No, it's great that they're playing, but you're absolutely right. At that time, I was a lot less on board with him going to play in the African Cup of Nations than I was Sorba Thomas playing.
There's something as well. Look, Liverpool aren't having a great season, but they're still in the FA Cup. They're still in the Champions League. There's stuff to play for. However, I loved watching Ekitike play for France. I loved watching Wirtz play for Germany this weekend.
Yeah.
You want to watch your players play international football. So it's an interesting one. But if Liverpool were in for the title, maybe I would fully back a whole pandemic of fake injuries.
Maybe. Yeah, exactly. It's amazing how our integrity just disappears when all of a sudden it actually involves us and our team,
I feel like we've got a bit grouchy today.
We have a bit.
Let's go positive, Wales.
Let's go positive, Wales. And I think this is, look, obviously this is tinged with disappointment. But I do.
We just said, let's go positive Wales.
It's
not been a good weekend.
No, it's not been a good weekend, but we're trying to clutch at the positives.
Okay.
Wales, that team really did their country proud, I think. They played so well, and just look, we'll touch on the game. They lost on penalties to Bosnia, but looked the better team throughout. Dan James scoring what Tom described as a screamer.
Yeah.
I inquired.
Yeah, Tom inquired as to whether it was a screamer. I'm not quite sure.
I find it really hard to know. It doesn't feel like a screamer because it felt so like nonchalant, didn't it?
Yeah. He hit it very quickly, sort of on the half
kind
volley,
of guided it
from about 35 yards. Absolutely buried it, but the goalkeeper slipped for me, and it looked a little bit like a keeper stood there, might have got a hand. I don't know. It was a great goal.
But what, a screamer has to be like
unstoppable.
Absolutely unstoppable.
The goalie's in the right position, and there's no way he's getting anywhere near it. That's my opinion.
If the keeper dives for it and misses it, that's a screamer.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah. But I just think that it wasn't just Dan James. The whole squad. Harry Wilson is just, bless him, looked like an absolute man possessed. David Brooks had a superb game as well. And yeah, I just think it sort of, for me, it brought back the memories of 2016 and how proud I think, all of the United Kingdom were of Wales. Maybe I'm speaking on behalf of some people that would rather wish I didn't. But it was so much more interesting watching. It's so much more interesting watching Wales than England, isn't it?
They're a great team to watch, and isn't that testament to how well they've done the last 10 years? That this is a disappointment. I feel like years ago you'd see Wales in a World Cup playoff, and you wouldn't have any expectations, and you'd be like, "Oh well, they got this far. I'll be proud." But the fact this is a disappointment shows how well Craig Bellamy's doing as a manager, how well Rob Page did before him, managers in the past like Gary Speed, like Chris Coleman. Have brought this Wales team so far, and this is such a gut punch to lose on penalties as well after playing so well.
And after conceding a late goal from Edin Dzeko,
40 years old,
who's still scoring. He's older than me, Joe.
Do you think you could nod one in like that?
He's about a foot taller than me, so probably not. But a really, really heartbreaking defeat. But also heartbreaking defeats elsewhere for our home nations as well. Northern Ireland, sadly losing out to Italy. What I'd say in this one is they come against a much stronger opposition, an Italy side that is under a lot of pressure under Gattuso to get to this World Cup, because I think I think the last two World Cups they've not made.
I think it was 2014 was their last World Cup,
which is crazy, insane to think that they have just not been at the party, and so for them to even be needing a playoff to get through, Italian football is not in a good place at the moment. And Sandro Tonali coming through, and Moise Kean, two Premier League stalwarts, needing to get the Azzurri through in that one as well.
Yeah, it's just a really tough draw, and again, Northern Ireland have played really well, and just quite a professional performance from Italy. I think they knew what they needed to do and didn't come up against too much quality in their opposition, sadly.
Interestingly, Italy will now face Bosnia in that playoff final to see who goes to the World Cup. Wales and Northern Ireland have to play each other in a friendly.
That's really annoying.
Yeah. So
just go home. Pull a hamstring.
I might argue that it's okay to pull a hamstring at that point. But also, Republic of Ireland, our neighbours in the Republic of Ireland, also in a very, very heartbreaking way, missing out by losing on penalties to the Czech Republic.
2-0 up as well.
2-0 up after about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, something like that.
That was limbs. That second goal was absolute Republic of Ireland limbs. But yeah, just really disappointing for me. The first goal for Czech Republic was a penalty that just didn't need to be given away. I think clearly Republic of Ireland were just, excited. They were 2-0 up, and one of their defenders pulled the shirt of a Czech Republic forward when they didn't really need to, gives away a penalty. Patrick Schick absolutely buries this penalty. And from there on, Czech Republic had momentum. And it was a long way back until, again, lose on penalties. After such an incredible moment in qualification as well, that last-minute goal from Troy Parrott, that was limbs as well, Tom.
And it kind of just leaves us to this point where England are obviously through. Scotland and McTominay's men are obviously through.
You've seen there's a mural of his overhead kick.
Amazing.
Brilliant. They'll do a mural for anything these days.
But, I, if I'm trying to look on the positive side here, obviously I'm going to be supporting England, but I'm the kind of person that will be delighted to see Scotland do well as well. And actually, I think if Wales or Northern Ireland were there, I think I'd also find myself rooting for there's too many other teams to root for, Joe.
Yeah.
So Scotland's enough.
So you're saying this is for the best?
Yeah, it is for me.
Yeah, Scotland always turn up for a tournament. They bring incredible fans. They've got that saxophone player. Maybe they'll bring him again.
Maybe.
Yeah.
On Tuesday evening, Joe, Scotland are playing a friendly against Ivory Coast at the Everton Stadium.
Oh.
So there you go.
It's not in Scotland or the Ivory Coast.
Yeah, exactly. So if anyone can explain that, I know listener Morgan is going, so maybe he can send me a text and tell me why.
I feel like that's going to be a really dead crowd. Not because, who's coming all the way up from the Ivory Coast to go to Everton?
You never know.
You just never know. But yes,
you're backing Italy now, aren't you, to go through to the World Cup?
I mean, I do look. I mean, yes, I think they will. I also just have a soft spot for Italy.
Italy in a World Cup feels right, doesn't
because
it?
Because I was a football fan in the 90s.
Yeah,
and
Italia 90.
Yeah. Serie A in the 90s, which is, in my opinion, peak football. That Juventus away kit with the blue, with the yellow stars on it. Oh, don't get me started.
Oh no, he's
Tom.
reminiscing. Let's move on, quick.
Football was so much better years ago. Joe, I don't know if you saw this story over the weekend, but this made me double take. Was that UEFA have fined a Serbian club after displaying a overtly Christian crowd display. So this was FK Crvena Zvezda. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. They were playing French side Lille during a Europa League match in February, and they unfurled a picture in the crowd of what looked like possibly Jesus. It sort of had this sort of vague semblance of a Christian icon. It was that sort of old painting style, somebody with a halo. It looks like Jesus to me, anyway, with a banner that said in their local language, "May our faith lead you to victory." Now, the governing body UEFA have ruled that this action, this banner particularly, has broken the rules on non-sporting messages and have issued a fine for, quote, transmitting a message that is not fit for a sports event and bringing the sport of football and UEFA in particular into disrepute. What are your sort of initial thoughts on that, Joe?
I think it's kind of disappointing. We know there's this kind of blanket thing in football about having messages, political messages kind of things, is not okay. But this just feels like, firstly, it feels like a backing of their team. But it's something that we as Christians wholeheartedly believe, that your faith leads you in everything that you do. So yeah, I find it disappointing, and also kind of a little bit hypocritical.
Yeah,
maybe.
Well, that's it. And a few sort of outlets have commented that a sort of an image of Jesus was deemed to be not appropriate at a football match, and yet there are other sides. Thinking particularly the likes of Kaiserslautern in Germany and Ajax in Amsterdam as well, who have in recent past displayed giant pictures of Satan as part of their creating of a hostile atmosphere. Back in the day, obviously Galatasaray were always famous for displaying the slogans "Welcome to Hell."
Yeah.
And it's part of, I think, a lot of that is just part of the theatre of football. And, but we do have to say that this is sort of displaying quite demonic imagery, and yet UEFA have found that that's okay. Apparently that is inappropriate, and actually seeing some of the images that have gone around of teams that have displayed satanic imagery or pictures of the devil, like some of them are quite scary, like as in, like, obviously I'd be fine because I'm a brave boy, Joe. But like
you are brave, Ed. Well done.
But like I would, but like I wouldn't like to take my kids to like that kind of atmosphere, because I think it would be a bit scary. It would be a bit terrifying.
And I think what you said there as well is completely true. That is seen as a great atmosphere.
Yeah.
You hear your club is going away to a team in Turkey and they've got a banner that says "Welcome to Hell." It's diminished. It's completely diminished into that's a hard place to go.
Yes.
And that atmosphere is incredible. Whereas this is seen as a political statement. It's seen as inappropriate for sport. And looking at it here, it looks like nothing but uplifting and supporting of their team.
And that's it. We do have to say that obviously there could well be some cultural things that we're not aware of.
100%.
Doing a bit of Googling on this, I know that some opinions were, well, actually this is going back to, a Serbian saint, and they knew exactly what they were saying and to who, and there's more to this story than meets the eye. And that probably is true. But actually, looking at just the raw facts of what we can see, this looks like a picture of Jesus with a fairly nice, positive, uplifting message to their team, and that is essentially deemed offensive by UEFA. And it doesn't feel particularly right, does it?
No. And do we have confidence that UEFA have looked into what this means? Maybe that's a cynical thing to say, but I don't have confidence that UEFA know the ins and outs of what this is. It just feels to me that it's for me. I think it's either you ban everything or you ban nothing. Yeah. And there's so much nuance in things. There's scales. You can't draw a line with this kind of thing. So I'm of the opinion that this is fine. I think tifos are great. I think things like this are fine.
Well, that's it. It should be like, I'm very much in the ban nothing category. Like if a club wants to go and proudly declare a giant picture of Satan before a game, that's on them. Yeah. Like that's their choice.
And we're fine because we're brave boys.
We're brave boys. But the point is that a club should be able to proudly declare its Christian heritage as well, and just say, well, that's also fine. It's about us bringing light to a dark world, and we should be allowed to do that. And I think that I disagree with the fact that they have been fined for this. Just to add a little bit of nuance to the situation, so the club were fined around about €95,000 for a series of offences, and we do have to say that around about 40,000 of that fine was for the display. The remaining amount on that fine was for things such as lighting fireworks, throwing objects, things that are not allowed inside a stadium. And I kind of think we also should say, like, we don't condone that.
100%.
If you're not allowed to bring something into a stadium, don't bring it. That's But that said,
fully agree.
You should be allowed to bring a picture of Jesus to the football.
You should, and we all should do that.
Yes.
I just think for me the bottom line for me is there's other things in football that need addressing in terms of messaging. There's betting adverts everywhere. There's alcohol supported. There's so many things in football. There's big issues in racism that just aren't being sorted out. And I find it disappointing that this is what they've chosen to address.
Jesus. No, fly the Bet365 banner.
well, that's it. That's ultimately. It's like, well, it comes back to the Mark Gahey discussion again about what messages should players be forced to wear, and it's like, no, you can't talk about your faith, but sure, talk about this betting company because it's sponsoring your team. And it's like, it comes back to that, where's the money coming from again, and it is very disappointing. Right, Joe, we've got through the episode.
You've done so well.
I'm a brave boy.
You are the bravest of boys.
It's time for Bible Ballers.
Yes.
You're feeling fairly confident.
I feel confident. I shouldn't count my chickens before they hatch. No.
Yeah.
Is that the phrase?
That's the phrase.
Shouldn't count your chickens before they hatch.
I was getting
they're
in my
still
head.
in the eggs.
Bible Ballers! Come on, let's move on. Okay, your question this week was, which former Spurs manager joined as assistant manager to Harry Redknapp in 2008, taking over the top job in 2013 following the dismissal of Andre Villas-Boas? Hit me, Joe.
I think the answer is 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy, Sherwood.
Tim Sherwood.
Tim Sherwood.
Is correct. Well done,
Fantastic
Joe.
stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Tim Sherwood with an exactly 50% win rate as Spurs manager.
That's all right. Is he throwing his hat in the ring again?
I don't know. Get him back in though.
Good vibes.
It's one of those funny things with Spurs bosses, is that it feels like every time if you look back through the history of Spurs managers, you look back at them all, go, why did they get rid of them?
Yeah.
like
Pochettino being the blaringly obvious one.
Pochettino being the blaringly obvious one, but Ange, get him back in.
Get Ange back in.
You could do a lot worse than Ange.
Vibes. It's all vibes.
Well
Mate.
done, Joe. You got the you got this week's question. You should be very proud of yourself.
I'm very proud of myself. I'm a clever boy.
It was a nice, easy one. Too many boys in this episode today. Well, thank you for listening to this week's episode of The Big Man Up Top. Make sure you get in touch with the show. Ping us an email to podcast@ucb.co.uk, and make sure you go and check out our Instagram page at Big Man Up Top Pod. What are your thoughts on it, Joe?
My thoughts on Instagram as a whole.
Tom's running it, so
I think it's good. I think we could get more followers if you listen.
So make sure you go and follow us, and also go and check out our YouTube page as well, which is also at Big Man Up Top Pod. And there will be a new episode next week, won't there, Joe?
Hopefully, it's less of a mess than this one.
See you later.
Bye.
Oh, you brave boys.